You are listening to the Self-Trust Solution Podcast with Dawn Ledet, episode number 2. Welcome back. Today, I want to talk to you about beliefs. Often when we're struggling with making a decision or follow through on that decision, which are two of the three main factors of achieving goals and success, we are in those moments not believing that we can do it. That is what holds us back from making the decisions and following through many times because we don't know for certain whether the result is going to be what we want it to be. And we hear these saying like that would be failing ahead of time. Of course, if we decide not to do something because we don't believe it's going to work, and so we never try and find out, that is failing ahead of time. But I think it warrants talking about belief in the way of thinking that you don't have it as if it is this all in or all out thing, as if belief is I either believe or I don't. And it's so much more fluid than that, right? So if you've even considered it at all, you do have some belief there. And therefore, there's something that you can grow. There's something you can cultivate. There's a belief that exists that just isn't getting as much attention in that moment as the disbelief that you have. So I was walking to my friend's house a couple of days ago, and stamped on the sidewalk that I passed is this thing: in order to succeed, you must first believe you can. And we've probably heard some variation of that along the way. I think one of the most famous quotes would be probably from Walt Disney, where he said, if you can dream it, you can do it. And it strikes me because not only is it true, but I think that belief can often feel far off for some. And it's important to recognize that what a belief is simply a thought, a sentence in your brain. It's a string of words put together of a choice in a moment. What's beautiful about that is it means that you really can believe whatever you want. And so that is why when we look at it in such a all or nothing way of either I believe or I don't, it actually denies truth that you actually do believe. You have some belief in you. And so you can cultivate it, you can grow it. And that is where you start. Right. So belief is there, or you wouldn't even have considered it. It's a possibility somewhere in you. It's a possibility, no matter how small. It just needs cultivation. It needs to be practiced. It needs some dedicated focus and attention. Because here's the thing, our brains are brilliant at finding evidence for whatever we focus on. So if you focus on, I can't, this won't work, your brain will find every bit of evidence to support that. It's just that good. But the opposite is true. It's going to find evidence for whatever you give it to focus on. So if you focus on, this will work, I can make this happen, the brain will start to collect and find evidence to support that. So why not? Because this is optional to believe whatever you want, why not at least give equal airtime to both sides? Your brain is always going to offer you what it thinks won't work, what it thinks you shouldn't exert the energy for, what it thinks that would be too dangerous. Of course it will. That's how our brains are wired. And it's not a flaw. It's actually this beautiful way to protect you. We just have to weigh whether you need that protection and if so, at what level. So we need discernment and direction for that part of our brain because it's reacting to a change, a difference, a fear. And we want our brains to do that. But we need in those moments where, okay, this seems scary to, send this email maybe. Why? What's the real fear here? What is going to go wrong? Do I actually need or want any protection against what I think that is? What's truly likely to happen? Is it possible that I could misspell some things and tell myself that I should be embarrassed? Maybe. But is that a reason not to do it? Does it just mean that instead of not doing it for this fear, our brain is alerting us to, that instead we do a second round of spell check or we put it in front of someone else's eyes versus ditching the whole email? Now, this is a really small example, right? But that is the kind of way we want to use discernment and direction. Sometimes the fear of doing something is not something that we really need to be concerned about. And sometimes it might be, and it might be worth it to worry about it. Not really to worry about it. Not worth it to worry about it necessarily, but might be worth considering. What could I do to mitigate this? And sometimes you're going to want to heed it. Either way, if you are, instead of just reacting to the fear or the protection, you have less power than when you decide to give it discernment and direction, where you're using that actual prefrontal cortex, the part of you that gets to decide and choose ahead of time to make plans and goals. Let that be the brain, the part of you that exercises discernment and practices direction. So if you want something, the belief is there. There's a part of you that believes, and it just needs to be watered, practiced, cultivated. Give it as much airtime as you can. Spend as much time growing that belief, practicing that belief that this is possible for you. If you believe there is no belief there, why? Why would you deny yourself this option? And again, it's safety, because your brain is wired to look out for new, dangerous, and energy exertion that it can avoid, that it can save energy for. So your exquisite human brain is doing exactly what it should. It just needs discernment and direction. Discernment. Do I need or want protection here? What kind? Does it look like spell check or another set of eyes versus ditching it? It looks like weighing possibility and the value over giving into predictive fears, meaning really looking at it from a bigger picture view and deciding, is it more valuable to do it, even if this result that I don't want happens, just for the chance that this result that I do want happen? What am I wanting to avoid? Is what I want to avoid more valuable than what I can gain? These are the questions we want to ask when that beautiful brain starts to question creating belief and moving towards the goals that you want. And this is how we grow in self trust, by holding beautiful space for ourselves without the judgment, without trying to push ourselves forward in a way that is painful and not honoring of how we feel. So, giving yourself the ability to honor how you feel, notice it, and just have a conversation about it. Yes, you're scared. And let's look at this. Is it something really to be scared of? If so, what do we need to do to take care of ourselves and move forward if that's the decision that we're making? That's the gift you can give yourself. One example of this for me has been in many areas, but using, instead of trying to push myself forward like I always had, looking at, what do I need to do this? Why am I afraid to do this thing? And what I decided in many cases is I just need to give attention to that fear, that it just needs to be heard. It needs to be acknowledged. And oftentimes that's enough. Sometimes it might mean, for me anyway, getting like a really cozy like throw and a more comfortable seat at my computer that where I can sit legs crossed, kind of pretzel style, and maybe like a cup of coffee or tea and my favorite pen nearby and notebook. And simple things like that that just show that I'm acknowledging that this isn't super comfortable for me to do what I'm doing. And I value what I'm creating more than I value stopping to save myself this discomfort. I can make the discomfort a little more comfortable by taking care of myself and looking forward to the pride and accomplishment I will feel when it's done. And in many cases, I can decide just be proud ahead of time, which also helps me to move forward, even when it's not super comfortable. Even when I'm not sure that the result is going to be exactly what I want, even when is such a great phrase to play with. Even when, what am I willing to do? Even when I fail or fall, I will be my own safe place to land. That is my invitation for you to practice, as well as fueling and cultivating the beliefs you have toward the goals that you want to achieve. Join me next week for the self trust solution, where we'll look at more self care in making decisions, following through, having your own back, so you can achieve what you want to achieve and make the impact that you are being called to make in the world. I'm Dawn Ledet, and I'll see you next time. And if you're curious about where you stand on the self trust scale, take my free self trust quiz. Identify any gaps or self doubt that may be holding you back and where you stand in terms of self trust. Pinpoint those areas that need a little extra TLC. So join me at theselftrustcoach.com and take the free self trust quiz. See you inside. Inside every goal is a decision, an action, an evaluation, and an adjustment. Keep building your rhythm with the self-trust solution. Subscribe, leave a review, and explore how we can work together at theselftrustcoach.com. I'll see you in the next episode.